Welcome, everybody, to episode 183 of WordPress Weekly for Wednesday, March 11th, 2015. I'm your host, Jeff Chandler, joined by Marcus Couch. Marcus, what's happening?
How you doing, buddy? Nice to be back here on another fun-filled episode.
I'm doing pretty good considering it was 50 degrees today and sunny, which living up here in the Arctic, or at least that's what it seemed like for the past few weeks, it was quite refreshing. You know, it's when you're locked up inside all month or all season long, it's amazing the rejuvenated energy you feel just from a nice day, warmth and sunshine.
Well, you're setting yourself up. It should be a fantastic show then. You must have all kinds of energy.
Well, the sun's down now, so it went away. So we don't have any guests lined up for today. We've had a lot of great feedback from the episode we did with Triple J last Wednesday night. It was a 2-hour long Triple J extravaganza, which was filled with incredible information and insight on BuddyPress, BBPress, commenting, all kinds of things. I mean, we had such a good time, we extended the show an hour. And we've had a couple people leave some comments on the show notes post saying they really enjoyed the show. So I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear people pick up value out of that episode.
I did as well, and that's I know it's a good show when I actually go back and listen to it again. So I went through the 2-hour extravaganza all over again, and it was awesome. A lot of good content.
Yeah, I mean, that was an epic moment when you came out with that question. Why does BuddyPress do what I think it should do? And that was a pretty epic question, as far as having interviews go. But so tonight we don't have a guest. We didn't get a chance to do any sort of news last week, so we have a lot to talk about tonight. So we might as well get right into it. And the first thing I want to talk about is that the version stats. If you go to WordPress.org and you click on About or one of the links on there, there's places where you can see statistics for WordPress. Well, they've undergone a major update. So the version stats are related to PHP, MySQL, and versions of WordPress. And these little pie charts, you can actually see the percentages of which version of each people are using. And as part of the major update, thanks to Dion Hulse, who is largely responsible for this effort, there's a couple of dramatic shifts that have happened. So one of the most notable differences is that the percentage of sites that are running on the latest version of WordPress is now up to 1/3. So 1/3 of all WordPress websites are running on WordPress 4.1 as opposed to a low number before this update took place. And before the update took place, WordPress was reporting fewer than 10% of sites. So that was a big increase, and actually, it's kind of a breath of fresh air to realize there's a lot more sites out there than we thought that are running on the latest version, which right now is 4.1. So what happened is some of the changes that were involved with coming up with this more accurate data is that some of the websites had stopped pinging over time. They've gotten rid of that data. So now the data reflects only sites that have pinged the WordPress API for update checks within the last few months. That's why we're seeing such an increase in websites running the latest version being reported. As well as there's still some websites lingering on 3.0, which is almost like years ago now since that release came out, and things like that. And there's another big change is that for PHP 5.2 is still, well, it was reported at 31%. Now it's being reported at 16%, which is a heck of a lot better because we just need to somehow find a way to move past WordPress supporting PHP 5.2. It's ancient now. It's been end of life now for a few years. However, even at that percentage mark, it's still too high and would leave millions of websites stranded and broken. So that number is going to have to decrease even more before we can even think about bumping up the minimum requirements for WordPress.
And Matt has often talked about the Chrome model. What version of Chrome are you running? You don't know because it self-updates. I'm wondering, what is the adoption rate as far as the new versions? Like who's running what version of Chrome, and is it as successful as a third or running the most the newest release? I'd be interested to see the stat comparisons of those two, and just see exactly how good are we doing with self-updating and making sure that everybody's using the newest version. That'd be an interesting comparison.
So one of the things here, I don't have it in my I don't have it in the show notes, but since you brought that up, I'm going to talk. I wrote an article last week that pretty much said, it's time for WordPress to automatically update core, themes, and plugins. It's time to auto-update everything, and the reason for that is, actually, the WordPress plugin directory. The WordPress plugin directory not only has a new design, so it looks pretty much the same as it does in the back end, but there's also been some major changes to the statistics for plugins. So now instead of seeing just the download count, you'll also be able to see the install base. And as the higher the install base, the more vague the numbers are. So there's, if you have over 1 million sites, it'll say installed on or active on 1 million plus sites. So there's no exact number, but it gives you a rough estimate on the amount of sites using the plugin, which is fascinating in and of itself, because you look at some of the top popular plugins out there who have, they have over 20 million downloads. You think, wow, those must be used on millions upon millions of sites. Well, it turns out, no, not really.
Yeah.
Some of them are only used on maybe 1 million plus websites, sometimes maybe even 2 million, like in the case of maybe Jetpack, I think it is. So that was pretty interesting to see such a disparity between downloads and install base, which I guess in some ways makes sense because you keep releasing updates, and over time the download count increases. It's not really directly correlated to the install numbers. But on top of seeing the install numbers, if you go to the stats page for each plugin, there's a chart that breaks down which specific major version is in use. And I was taking a look at some of the very popular plugins out there, and I was pretty disappointed to see that a lot of people were running outdated versions of plugins. In almost all instances, 2/3 or more of users of specific plugins were using an outdated version. So I said, if people can't even update plugins, then there's no hope. Then we might as well WordPress automatically just turn it on for everything, and we'll deal with the consequences and see what happens. Let's bite the bullet. This is I don't know what's going on here. So I wrote the post about how WordPress should auto-update everything, and boy, did I get taken to task. I got taken out back by the people, and I got some sense beat into me. And the overall conclusion is, okay, core is pretty good. We already have security automatic updates for security and minor releases, which work out fairly well. But the overall vast majority of people that responded to me said, no, once you get to automatically installing plugins, you are just asking for a disaster. Instead of WordPress, you'd have DisasterPress. And I've seen some articles and I've read some experiences within the past week or so since writing that article that verify that, I am now in their camp where if WordPress were, for the next major version, were to turn on automatic updates for plugins for all websites, not just new installs, but for everybody. When you update to that new version, I believe there would be a lot of trouble. A lot of people would be getting hurt after installing plugins. So I've changed my tune, and right now I'm fine with the way everything's at, and it's just simply not the right time to auto install, to have automatic updates for plugins. It won't work.
I agree, and in fact, there's a lot of sites that I have that I'm afraid when I hit that update button, because I'm afraid something's going to break, that other shoe is going to drop. It shouldn't be like that, I know, but sometimes there are some custom modifications and things that I've done, and it's always interesting to see how two different plugins party together, and it's not always in a fun way. I'll give you an example. I have a restaurant site that I handle, and it's a local restaurant to me. It's a great place. He asked me yesterday, he dropped off a menu to me and said, hey, can you just update some pricing on this thing for me? And I happily agreed because it's a family member and I have to. But suddenly Gravity Forms, I couldn't edit the form anymore. And I went back and tried to figure it out and filled a support ticket, and they're basically saying, well, revert and turn off all the other plugins and revert to a weird theme, and then you can edit it again. And I'll be damned.
Pretty much the standard troubleshooting techniques for, that's the way you
Yeah.
troubleshoot WordPress in general.
Yeah. And I did that, and it worked, and it bugged me because I still don't know what the exact nature of the problem is. I still have to go through this Tumblr cycle of figuring out exactly what plugin is doing it, and one by one, go back and forth, turn this one on, see if it works, turn this one off, see if it works, turn this one on, see if it works. And that's troublesome, especially when you're just trying to edit something as simple as a price in a form. And I've learned my lesson there. It's something that I should have had some sort of a, I don't know, better system in which to do this. But it's a custom theme, and it relies on specific plugins to make the thing work, and that's what I'm stuck with. It's certainly not a rule or anything that follows suit with all the rest of my sites and domains, but it's just one that is troublesome. So I'm in agreement with that. I don't want automatic updates either. I pay attention to my sites enough that those things can get done. I use tools like CMS Commander that controls all of my sites, and I can update them all with one click anyway if I need to. So it's not a big deal. And that's just my personal experience with it, even just over the last few days.
And did you find out if it was the custom theme that was causing the issue, or was it a plugin conflict?
I did not have time to go back in and troubleshoot exactly what the nature of it is. This is something that I only have to do once every couple years as far as updating this. The last time I did it was 2010, actually. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time to try and figure this out, but it does concern me, that's for sure.
So one of the issues, in terms of automatic plugin updates that somebody had brought up to me, it's a great question and something I've been thinking a lot about, and that is, what problems are being solved by running the latest version of a plugin, having the latest code? What problem does that solve? And I've been thinking, there's no guarantee that the newest code is going to be just as secure as what you already have, so I understand that point. Obviously, you get access to new features and new bug fixes that are usually inside that new code. You're shortening the path you're shortening your upgrade path. So if you let it go for too long, then it's possible, depending on the amount of changes that take place between here and then, instead of upgrading, you're going to be migrating. So it keeps you closer to the edge there. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I've been really thinking about that. It's just having the latest version of a plugin's code doesn't solve all the problems.
No, unless it's a security issue, there's really no reason, unless it's just additional features and value that you would get out of an upgrade. But is anybody really doing that much more? Is it really that much different from one version to the other? I don't think so. I mean, it's supposed to have the same inherent functionality as the day that you put it on there. So I'm with you on this. I don't really see a reason to.
So one of the issues for that is that when you update a plugin, there's no way to differentiate between immediate update, hey, this is a security release update now, versus we just fixed a couple of bugs. There's no separate branches. There's no visual notification. I mean, if you're lucky and you know about it, you'll look in the change log and you'll usually see a note about MySQL vulnerability fixed or so and so is fixed. But other than that, you're just updating. And I wonder if at some point the plugin directory is somehow, some way, they're going to have to build in a system where maybe there's two different branches. Maybe you're on a stable branch, but you could set your system up to do an opt-in per plugin, not all of them, but just per plugin, where you can opt in to automatic security updates, sort of like you do for core, but for plugins. That way, there's two different ones, and you have two different. You could sort of know when you really have to take immediate action to update a plugin versus they're all sort of just the same and have the same priority, which is meh, just
Right.
Another upgrade you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we have a consensus here on the show. No automatic upgrades for us. But if you've got your own opinions, you can certainly yell at Jeff and I on Twitter, and we'll keep the debate rolling.
Certainly for core and core minor releases and security updates, but definitely we're not ready for themes of plugins. That's the overall.
Yeah, definitely not themes. No way.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Oh, God, everything changed. What happened? Oh, man, updated last night. Surprise.
Yeah, no thank you.
So going back, I had mentioned that the WordPress plugin directory had launched a new design, and if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely go over there and take a look at it. It should be familiar to you if you've seen the plugin, the way you could search and install plugins from the back end of WordPress. The interfaces are pretty much the same. They use the same code. It has the same type of links. You have featured, popular, and what's really neat is if you log into WordPress.org, you can actually see your list of favorites that you have right, on that page.
Mm-hmm.
So that's neat. And then there's the beta testing tab for plugins where the features are being developed as plugins first. That's where you'll find those type of plugins so you could test them out and stuff like that. Now, so if you look at the page, I'm in the back end of WordPress, it takes up the full screen, so I can see up to 3 plugin tabs at one time. But on the plugin directory, there's only space for 2 tabs. Everything is sort of center aligned, and it doesn't. I have so much white space on each side of it. So I'm wondering. I hope that maybe at some point the whole page could be redesigned to be wider to take advantage of my wide screen, or maybe it could just be responsive and show 2 columns of plugin tiles when need be, but 3 or 4, take advantage of that screen real estate. So there's that big difference, and there's the links to find new and recently updated plugins have disappeared. I'm not sure if they're going to come back or if you can only see them when you're logged in. But I've heard from some other people that they're trying to get rid of those links because they're gamed all the time for whatever reason.
Well, that's the bookmark that I enter the repository in is the new plugins, and yes, you have to be logged in order to see that. I, for one, love the new design of the repository for plugins. I think it's great. Jeff, the only thing that's missing is the pop-up video of me on there telling people what plugin to choose. But I like it a lot. I love the fact that now you can see exactly how many installations there are rather than just how many downloads of a plugin there have been. That's very, very helpful because then you can really establish what the user base of each plugin is. And for me, I love to pick out and kind of snipe those plugins that nobody really uses or talks about that have come out. But also, I get to see the velocity of a new plugin and see, wow, this is a brand new plugin that's only 3 days old and already 1,000 people have it installed. So what is this? And that's pretty nice. That's a really nice thing. Now, what it doesn't have, which you can hack your way through a back-end URL to do, is the favorites. I'd love to see everybody else's favorites.
Oh, okay.
That would be great.
Yeah, now, you brought this up quite a number of times already.
I know. I'm like a dead horse here trying to kick him. But you can do it with the URL. So if you look at your favorites and say if I typed in, instead of my name in there, I put
my username, like Jeffro.
Your username, yeah, or you just put Marcus Couch in there. You can see what my favorites are. That functionality's there. It's just we don't have it all hooked in together. So I guess that's coming someday, I hope.
And another thing to take notice of and something to mention is they've actually have redone the review system. So all ratings that were given to a plugin before you had to actually provide a review have been deleted. So now, from that point on, so it's within 2 years or so, from the point where you had to actually write a review to rate a plugin, those to current are active, and what that's done is that's across the board. That's sort of slightly made the average ratings for plugins increase or decrease. Not huge amounts by any means, but enough to notice a difference. And I've quite a few plugin authors are actually pretty pleased to see that change because back in the day before this change, you could just rate a plugin and you didn't have to qualify it. You could just say 1 star and then leave, or you could get all your buddies to come in and say 1 star and leave. And now that all those phony ratings are disappeared, now you sort of get a better sense for really, is this plugin good or not. And it's a change I support, and seems like a lot of other plugin authors do as well.
I like it as well. It's not that ratings snipe system, that drive-by reviews type of thing. You actually have to quantify what you like and dislike about the plugin in your review. So that leads. I'd love to see also some sort of a highlight of the users that, who does the most reviews. It's probably me. I don't know. And who, what are they looking at? What are they reviewing? What do they find good? What do they find bad? That's pretty valuable information. So, again, more social component in the repository would rock.
So it's actually pretty cool to have a cohesive experience between the WordPress backend and the plugin directory because you're used to it. There's no major changes you have to worry about now. Yeah, there are definitely some things they can add and they can improve, but the first major step is complete, and that is launching the new design. So now that that's in place, and that was the hardest part, now they'll probably, within the next few months, we're probably going to see quite a few changes and additions and updates to the page, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and I think I found a nickname for the repository people like me, the repository rats that are crawling around. What do you think?
Do you like the name repository, or do you like directory?
I'm so used to repository now.
Okay, or repo.
Yeah.
Although that sounds like repossess.
A repo rat. There you go. We're repo rats.
You're a plugin repo rat. You heard it here first, folks. You have to change your. I wonder if you can. I might have to talk to some people. I might be able to give you a custom title on WordPress.org in a forum, or your title. It will say plugin repo rat.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be cool if you did like 100 reviews or something like that.
So speaking of new designs, the theme directory ended up with the same treatment. If you visit the WordPress.org theme repository or theme directory, you will notice that it is similar to that of the back end. Of course, that is by design. So if you take a look at it, you see big preview images. And if you click on a theme, it'll give you this big modal will pop up, a little pop-up window. It'll give you information about the theme, reviews, link to the theme homepage, and it's pretty nice. You can actually, within this view, there's arrows up at the top left corner, so you can go through different themes within this window instead of having to click little images. You can browse them one by one and just browse through them. And at the bottom of this window is the stats, so downloads per day. And overall, pretty nice looking theme. The preview and download links are better. You can see them better. When you click the preview button, of course, you get to see the standard preview. And then on the left-hand side, you have this bar where you can actually, what's nice about this is you could switch themes while in the preview mode. So as you're clicking the arrow, and you're going through the different themes, the different previews will load of the theme. So that's nice. So it makes it more convenient. Instead of all this clicking, it's right there. You're already in the window. You can just click an arrow to see the next theme. Overall, it's a pretty nice looking design.
I love that. And the easier that it becomes to switch between themes, the better. And I applaud the move. I applaud the redesign. I love the way that we're all kind of getting into these little cards with plugins and themes and having little icons or, like little app graphics, app style graphics, just like you would see in the iTunes Store or Google Play or the Droid Store or any of those things. We're really coming full circle when it comes to presenting the individual themes and plugins, and the new theme integration is awesome. So I applaud the entire team that's come up with those concepts, those designs, and that kind of UI.
And again, all by design. So now the WordPress backend, the way you view and browse themes and plugins matches that of the actual website. So now it's all shareable code. So you don't have to replicate code in 3 different places. If you make a change or an improvement in one place, you can easily port that over to the other side, the WordPress backend, which is developers are probably loving that.
Yeah, definitely.
So version 1 of the WordPress history book is ready for review. So back during the 2013 State of the Word at WordCamp San Francisco, Matt Mullenweg announced a new project called WordPress the Book. And this is something I'm really excited about. I always thought I would be the one to sort of write about the history of WordPress, but after reading Siobhan McCune's writing, I'm glad she got the job because she's done a great job with it. So after nearly 2 years of writing the book, since it was announced in 2013, it's ready, and it's all available on GitHub. So as she's been writing the book, it's been available on GitHub, so you could actually monitor and watch her progress if you wanted to. And what she needs right now is both feedback and people to proofread the pages and open up pull requests on GitHub to tell her about grammar, typos, corrections, links, and things of that nature, errors, omissions, images, if you're allowed to use those. So what I'm going to do here is I've got the link, and I will, of course, have it in the show notes, but I'm going to give the book a read. And it turns out that my name is in the book. I don't know how many times, at least once I've seen that, talking about the history of the GPL during the GPL years and GPL debates of WordPress. And it just, I find it kind of ironic that that's how my name would show up in the book, is around those debates and stuff, because that was the tavern and my role and having the interview with Matt during some of the things that took place. It all kind of makes sense. I'm glad I'm in there. I mean, those were some interesting and very active years of the WordPress history.
I remember that. I remember that vividly. And what is the title of this? I didn't look.
It's called WordPress the Book.
The book.
So I don't know if there's actually an official title for it yet.
It should be called History of the Word, like History of the World.
Right now it's called I think it's just called The Story of WordPress. I think that's what it's going to be called. Not sure. I'm not sure if that's going to be the final title or not, but it will be. They're looking at producing it in just about over a month. So right now we got to really cram in our feedback for the book. It will be in downloadable form, but it's possible that they might set some things up depending on who they can find for manufacturers or printers to have on-demand printing for publishing a physical copy. And I would love to have a physical copy of a book that talks about the history of WordPress.
Me too. That would be great. That'd be a great read. And great to bring to WordCamps to have people sign. Wouldn't that be cool?
That's actually a great idea.
All right.
I could just see it now. I show up at a WordCamp and there's a line. Oh, here you go. Here you go. I got to bring a Sharpie with me. Yeah, right. I'm only playing. Who knows?
A short line, but yeah, a line.
Hey, a line is better than no line. That's all I'm saying. So I'll have a link to that in the show notes, and if you can, give it a read. If you know how to use GitHub, please submit some pull requests to help her make this the best history book about WordPress ever.
Yes, and I hope that there will be more. Obviously, there will be. I mean, there can't just be the one, unless this is going to be a book that just keeps growing and growing in size.
Yeah, and there are some things that are slightly, I don't want to say omitted, but there's not so much really focus on maybe the plugins aspect or the community aspect, but more along the lines of, the core of WordPress itself and some of the influential things that have happened during that time. So maybe there'll be a second edition or something, because there's just, I think it's obvious Siobhan could have wrote 100 chapters if she really wanted to, but for readability's sake and people, I think this is a good start. And I think it'd probably be a good idea. Maybe we did have a second edition at some point, maybe focusing on other aspects of the WordPress ecosystem. It probably could be a book in and of itself.
Are there illustrations and pictures in this as well?
I have not seen any, but she is looking for images. Of course, they probably have to be open source or CC zeroed or something, or at least give her permission to use them. I have not come across any images in here yet, but I'm not sure. Right now, it's just all text and GitHub from what I've seen.
Because I would love to see some of the pictures of the early groups of people just sitting around a table, or maybe whiteboards with crazy iterations of what they thought WordPress would be at the time in comparison to what it is now. I think that'd be fun to look at.
Or even, when at some point, if you were talking about community or WordCamps, have pictures from the first WordCamp, which look Stone Age compared to what we have now. They had fans set up, and Matt has shown pictures of this where he's got the modems and the modems were duct taped together. That was their network equipment. It was pretty ancient at the time, but people showed up and had a good time. I mean, that was the most important thing, just getting together for the first time and having a conference about WordPress.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this book. I'm going to look at it on GitHub this evening, and I really look forward to a printed version as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. So speaking of security, WordPress has published a security white paper, which is interesting, and it was published and created by the WordPress VIP team, I believe. Now, the document is available as a PDF, and what it does is it gives you an analysis and explanation of the WordPress core software development and its related security processes, as well as an examination of the inherent security built directly into the software. So sometimes what will happen is, as a consultant, you'll try and pitch WordPress, and maybe the client will say, well, I've heard it's not secure, or they'll come up with some other excuse about security or whatever. So what this white paper does is it gives you an opportunity to read it and go over it with the client and say, no, here's what's really going on, here's how WordPress is secure, here's some of the common things, common issues, or common whatever dealing with WordPress. It's not really that big of an issue. And this white paper is also available on GitHub, and so far it's been translated into a few different languages already. It's pretty good.
Those are valuable things to present to potential clients when trying to convince them to partake in designing their site in WordPress. Because obviously, and even if they don't even ask about security, that's still something to give them as a value add to say, hey, look, I have security in mind when we create these things. And anybody who's a developer or designer needs to read this. If anything, just to hone your pitch a little bit. But it's definitely worth giving to someone who is in business and uses it for commerce or driving leads or something like that, because more and more, as even since that Sony hack of that movie came a couple months ago, security is on everybody's mind. Even I just got a letter today from my health insurance company saying, hey, we were hacked, sorry. So it's pretty valuable information and definitely worth reading yourself and sharing with others.
Yeah, so the next time you're trying to work with a client and they go, whoa, WordPress isn't secure, you go, here, shove the paper in their face. It's really secure. Just read the paper. It's secure.
Don't shove it in their face. Just guide them through it.
Yeah, don't follow my advice. Definitely don't follow my advice. They'll walk out on you. You'll be one less client paying for your bills. So one thing I wanted to talk about here is there's a new survey out there from a company called CodeGuard. Now, CodeGuard is a service that specializes in automated backups to the cloud. So what they've done is they've published a survey, and the survey took place between February 18th and the 20th, and was answered by 503 WordPress users. They asked a variety of questions dealing with backups, training, WordPress training, backup training, and there is some pretty, I don't want to me it was shocking, but from a lot of other people they said it was par for the course. But out of 24% of the respondents only 24% of the respondents use a backup plugin at all. And I thought that was a bit shocking considering there's so many free options available. And there's also only 69% of respondents have had a plugin fail after an update. Now that goes back to our discussion of automatic updates of plugins. Now 69% of the 503 people who took the survey says they've had a plugin fail after an update, and 24% of that 69% says they've had it happen several times. So that's even another dagger that says no way. Automatic plugin updates, stay far away from those. We're definitely not ready yet. And there's just a lot of percentages on here. Like 76% of the respondents are currently not using backup plugins. Now we're talking about backup plugins. Now let's sort of review here. First of all, on some of your managed WordPress hosts, you're not allowed, they either discourage or they don't allow you to use a backup plugin because they handle it for you. That's all part of the plan. That's why they call it managed WordPress hosting. So there's that. And there's also services out there. So maybe people are using services that are connected somehow, some way, but of course I think you would have to use a plugin to allow that connection to occur. So I'm not sure about that, but there's just overall, it's pretty obvious that there needs to be more education on backup strategies, services, plugins, and things of that nature. There's just, I know 503 people is a small sample size towards the WordPress user base overall, but these are some shocking numbers to me.
I bet it's worse than that. It has to be. It can't be better than that, because if you've taken a survey, then that means you're pretty much a hardcore WordPress user. And if 2/3 aren't even using backups, that's insane. I don't know how the heck you could live walking that tightrope every single day, trying to make your way through the WordPress world without having a backup. That just seems insane to me. So if you're listening and you don't have a backup system within your WordPress site, get one before you install anything else ever. I mean, you put so much time and effort into making posts and your theme and everything else to make things run as smoothly as they should, and if you don't have a backup on there, it's stupid. So don't be stupid. Back it up. That's the new slogan.
So CodeGuard today commented on the article and gave us some insight onto how the survey was conducted. So they used a survey company called Survata Incorporated, and they targeted respondents older than 18 who reside in the United States. And to be included in the survey, the respondents had to answer yes to the following screening question: have you managed a WordPress blog or website? Other than that, they didn't request any further screening questions around whether respondents were beginners, casual bloggers. They had no clue as to the skill level of the people who were responding to the survey, only that they have managed a WordPress blog or website before. Which so there you go. We don't know if they were hardcore users or not, but the vast majority of them pretty much have nothing to do with backups. So Backup Buddy is a commercial plugin. It's pretty good. Something I've used before and I can recommend. There's also WP Migrate DB Pro. That's also a pretty good plugin. But what I've seen in terms of feedback is that a lot of backup plugins out there suck. They either don't do their job properly or they're a resource hog. So maybe that's part of the reason why so many people either maybe don't use them.
That, and I've seen a lot of plugins that back up really nicely, but they don't restore worth a damn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
backing up is the first part, and boy, what a terrible situation it is to have that backup. You think everything's great, and you try and restore it, and it says error, corrupted file. Oh, yeah. Man, I've been down that road.
Yeah, I think we all have.
And there's also something else to think about is I think it's really dangerous, unless you're on a managed WordPress host, to put all your eggs in one basket. What I mean by that is believing that your host is going to do everything possible to maintain a backup schedule of your website. Now, in general, for shared web hosting, they do this. Probably it's just something they have to do by default, maybe for their own sake or for their own business, and your site just happens to get backed up right along with it. But I've seen and read countless situations and stories where the time where a customer really needs to have access to that backup, to which the web hosting company says, yeah, we keep 30 days worth of backups, and they end up losing all of them either because the server went offline or they're going out of business. So just because a web host says that they're going to back up your site all the time and have 30 days worth of backups, take that with a grain of salt and do things your own way. Give yourself another option. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, whether it's a plugin or a service. Do something to where you're not relying on just giving yourself one point of failure when it comes to backups.
I remember having a conversation with a host one time, and I asked that same question. How many days of backups do you store? And their response was, well, we do 14 days of backups, but they're not 14 days in a row. Well, what's the point of that, right? What do you do, every 3 days, every 2 days? And it's an interesting conversation, to say the least. But this reinforces the point exactly what you just said, is have a backup plan for your backup plan. If you value what it is that you do online, if you value your site or your client's site, then do the right thing. All you have to do is get something that works and get it in place, and chances are it's pretty much an automated process. So there's nothing to worry about after that. But just make sure that you have a good solution in place, and that you're not leaving yourself unprotected all the time, because things will go down. They will. I don't know anybody who's used WordPress and hasn't had some sort of an issue, or somebody who ran their site previously and maybe is holding it hostage or whatever. Keep a backup and keep it in a safe place, and don't back it up to the same server that your install is on. Put it somewhere else, Dropbox, something like that, somewhere where we can get readily be able to pull that up at any time.
So 2 last stats here for the survey before we move on here. 22% said that a backup plugin seems unimportant to them.
Ugh.
And 24% said, this site is my livelihood, I'd pay almost anything for a complete restore, while 19% said they'd be willing to spend several $1,000s at least to have things taken care of for them. Now, personally, the tavern is under, well, we're in a nice situation here. The tavern uses VaultPress, and VaultPress is one of those services that is backing up our website all the time and notices file changes and lets us know if things go awry, and restoring is just a click away of things, if the crap hits the fan. And actually, it's very nice. A few months ago, they actually came out with a $5 Lite plan, which is their most affordable plan. And $5 a month, which comes out to be what, $60 a year? That's pretty affordable, in terms of security and backup options out there. It's really something to think about. So just 22% said, who needs backups? I don't need them. What I'm doing isn't important.
That's nuts. I don't. That's going outside without a raincoat. I don't understand that.
I don't know, man. Living by the edge, only to get cut.
Right.
So let's see. News of some plugin. Boy, security is a big topic on this show. So bbPress 2.5.5 was released last Friday night, and it patches 3 potential security vulnerabilities. So if you are using bbPress, definitely check on your install and make sure you're running the latest version. All previous 2.x versions are vulnerable, so that means all versions from 2.54 below are vulnerable. So you want to make sure you're running the latest version. And if you're running the development version, which is 2.6, the patches have already been applied there, so you don't have to worry about it. So definitely make sure you're running the latest version there. And today we found out that there is a blind SQL injection vulnerability, and there's actually another vulnerability as well discovered in the WordPress SEO plugin by Yoast.
What?
which is a bit surprising considering the talent and the coding notoriety that manages this plugin. But even the great ones have a bad day. So these vulnerabilities were discovered by WPScan Vulnerability Database. They issued an advisory earlier this morning. So they found two SQL types of injection vulnerabilities they have to deal with. If you had certain privileges of an admin, editor, or author user, you could use them to sort of gain escalated privileges. So Joost de Valk was immediately notified. He sent out a patch, and once he sent out a patch, they put this proof of concept out, and that's when they pushed out the advisory for the security vulnerability. So it's already been pushed out. If you're running both the premium version of WordPress for SEO and the regular free version, both have updates, and you should automatically update to them. Although I found out earlier today, for whatever reason, that the WordPress plugin directory, whoever is in charge of that, or the team or whatnot, pushed out an automatic plugin update to everyone who is using WordPress for SEO, whether they have plugin updates, automatic updates turned on or not, which is reminiscent of what happened last year when the big Jetpack security vulnerability happened, and they used that core auto update functionality to push that out to everybody because it was such a big issue, and Jetpack is used on so many websites that they felt the need to take the user out of the equation and do whatever they can to make sure as many sites as possible were updated to be safe. Well, apparently they've done the same thing with the WordPress for SEO plugin, and at some point, one of these episodes, or when I find out, I'm gonna do some research after the show, is find out what the criteria is for the core team or whoever does this or make these decisions to push out an automatic plugin update for a plugin. When it's a security vulnerability, does it have to have so many installs? Does it depend on the severity of the security vulnerability? These are questions that have to be answered, and I'm on the case. I will get to the bottom of it. But so yeah, if you're running WordPress for SEO, which over a million, well, actually I can let you know right here, over 1+ million it says. So 1+ million sites are actively using the plugin. You're going to have to make sure that you're using 1.7.4 if it's the free version, or I think it's 1.5.3 or 1.5.4, one or the other, for the premium version.
And if you're a band out there, I'd love to hear you name your next album Injection Vulnerability. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Now, would it be a rock band? Would that be metal? Would that be thrash? It kind of sounds that way.
It doesn't have to be.
Live at the Roxino, Injection Vulnerability.
Yeah. Well, no, an album, not a band name.
Oh, an album. Oh, okay, not a band name, but just an album.
Yeah. If you got a band, you've already got a name.
Yeah, and then when you install it, like it installs a rootkit on it, like the Sony thing. No, okay. Maybe that's taking it too far.
Yeah.
Just name the album Injection Vulnerability. It does sound pretty cool.
Make a song.
So what would the album art look like? Just out of curiosity, what kind of album art would you have for that?
Oh, you'd have to have syringes for sure.
Oh, for God's sake! Come on, that's too easy.
I don't know, man. Ones and zeros with
a syringe made out of ones and zeros.
Yeah. Actually, now you're talking.
Cool. It actually sounds cool. So we better get off of this before we lose. We're gonna have to have a DARE program officer on the show with us next week. So so that about wraps it up. I mean, that's about 2 weeks worth of news crammed into an hour there. There's more happening, but we got to move on here to the show. And why don't you? We haven't talked enough about plugins. So Marcus, why don't you give us 3? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm always moving ahead of myself. Marcus Couch has a big announcement, and I told him, go ahead and tell us.
Yes.
So before we get into the plugin picks of the week, I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, even though you're 6,000 miles away from me. And you tell us what you've got coming out of the oven. Smells good.
Okay. I have owned this domain name for years and years and years and done nothing with it. And, it comes a time in your WordPress career, I guess you could say, online career, where you just kind of get sick of working for people. And I've come to that point. I mean, the last 2 years for me have been kind of really rough and tumble as far as who I've been working for and what I've been doing and the client work that I've been doing and all of that. And I decided that I'm going to change tack a little bit. I'm going to alter my course and take on a different strategy. So I have this domain. It's called onlinebizcoach.com, for online business coach. And here's my plan. And you tell me if this is a good idea or not. You can critique it right now if you'd like to. I'm going to take on 3 different levels. It sucks, I know. I'm going to take on 3 different levels of people in these groups. And it's obviously it varies according to the price point and what you get in the packages and all of that stuff. But if you're an online business owner, I'm probably one of the best out there that can give you results. I've been doing it for clients as big as like Farmers Insurance, all the way down to small little restaurants and things like that. I think that my clients and the people that I work with are a complete mirror of me, because if I don't give them absolute results, then I suck. I'm not good. And I don't ever look at it as, oh, well, half of them are doing good. No, I'm not even satisfied with the 80% of them doing good. If my hands are touching the online properties and trying to motivate people and get them to do the things that they need to do with content or social or things like that, I want everybody to succeed. Everybody. And so I've started this new coaching program. There are some that are as cheap as $197 to get in, and for that level you get like webinars and private. You get to get in on the group calls and things. And then there are some other ones where I will actually hook into your Google Analytics and give you custom step-by-step plans for you as far as what you need to do. And it goes all the way up to the level of you get to use my project management system, and I'll recruit specific outsourcers and staff to do the things that I put into the project management system for you. And so I think this is the best value add that I can give to the community. I want to express the value that I can deliver to people, and this is the best way that I know how to do it. It's not SEO. It's not any of that crap. It's not just some course. It's not a series of videos. I'll call you on the phone. I will talk to you, Jeff. It's just like we get to have a podcast with 50 people. But I'm really serious about this. I want to make this what I do, and with that obviously comes a price. You got to buy into it, but it's something that is in my heart that I really want to do. I really want to help people. I really want to deliver value, and I really want to help people take their online businesses to that next level of success. And I'm going to hold everybody accountable that's in the program. Like, I will call you out if you don't do exactly what it is that you're supposed to be doing from, in between the times that we have conversations. So I just want to have, I just wanted to get it out there. It's something that I just put together this week, as far as the site and the landing page and everything that goes along with it. I haven't had any clients yet because I haven't really talked about it at all. In fact, I haven't given the link to anybody really. So I just want to tell the WordPress community about this, and check out the site. I don't have the newsletter sign up thing on there yet, so if you're listening to this tonight as we're recording this, I don't have it up yet. I will as soon as the show is done. But that's my idea. I mean, what do you think about this, Jeff?
Hey, if you feel like this is your calling, I mean, is there a plan where I can pay you to run my business, but I make the money? I mean, do you have that type of tier?
Almost, yeah, almost. The highest level, pretty much, yeah. I'll do every aspect, tell you exactly what to do. I'm not going to do content or crap like that for people, but I'll tell you what to write about. I'll tell you the audiences to go for. I'll tell you exactly what your competition's doing. And even in the lowest level plan, you get access to what I call the lab, which I'm going to make a cool little repository that has all of the online tools that I use and online services that I use. There won't be any affiliate links or any of that stuff to it. But you'll have access to the lab, which tells you exactly what I use to get success with all the different clients that I've already worked with. So I think it's a good deal. It's definitely not cheap, but there's a reason for that. Is one, I've got to make a living, and two, if you just paid $20, you'd never do the things that I ask you to do. You would never do it. So with that higher price point, you've got obviously got a lot bigger buy-in to it, and that's my dream. This is what I want to do. This is what I feel like I've been built to do, and I'm gonna go for it. So that's.
Well, it really doesn't matter what I think or what I say. If you feel like this is your calling, and you feel like now is the time, and you've got the skills and you got everything to back it up, and right now is the time to launch this, and you feel very confident about it, then hell, go all in, man. Buy into it, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, which it probably will, but I'm just saying, if the other side of the coin flips, then man, you gave it your all, and it's at least you went for it, right? But I have a feeling I won't be able to have you on the show coasting with me anymore, because you'll be you'll be on a yacht. You'll be on a yacht somewhere out in the middle of the ocean. Oh, Jeff, I don't have internet connectivity.
No, that's never going to happen. And my other calling is podcasting, and I've been doing that for a decade, so that's never going to go away. You'll never get rid of me as a co-host. That's not going to happen. So,
well, speaking of podcasting, are you going to have one that goes along with this? Is that going to be part of the membership behind the paywall, or is that going to be? Is that something you're interested in, getting back into having another podcast just based on this?
I actually am having a podcast. I'm waiting for approval from iTunes, but that's also called Online Biz Coach, and I've already recorded the first episode. I'm just waiting for iTunes to give me that green light as far as accepting my feed. But yes, I've got it on iTunes. I've applied on Stitcher. So you don't necessarily have to buy into the plan, but you're going to get a lot more value if you do. That's for sure. But yeah, I'll have a podcast that'll be show number 4 that I'll be on. Yours, the WordPress plugin show, the one that I do with Mendel from GoDaddy, and then now Online Biz Coach.
Awesome. So, is the domain? I mean, do we want to share the URL now or not yet?
Yeah, it's onlinebiz.coach.com.
Okay, yeah, because I'm looking at it, and there's a picture of you looking at me, and you're covered in analytics.
Yes.
The data that makes me successful.
Yes.
Or
you don't know what
gives me the good decisions.
Yeah, and that's one of them. Is a dashboard. Is a KPI dashboard. I'll just let this out of the bag now. One of the biggest problems, I think, within anybody who does anything online is that you kind of drown yourself in these reports, either through analytics or social or whatever, and it's hard to put it all in one place. And when you drive your car, you have a KPI dashboard in front of you. You know exactly how much, what your oil pressure is. You know exactly what your coolant temperature is, how fast you're going. And obviously some gauges mean a lot more than others, right? Your gas gauge is probably a lot more vital than...
Like the one that keeps telling me to check my engine.
Oh, yeah. You better look at that one.
That's like a dashboard light, the KPI dashboard saying check your business.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. That's just one of the things and that's even the bottom level plan. You get that is I'll show you exactly how to put together a KPI dashboard so that you can look at everything in one place. That even involves e-commerce, sales, any of that stuff. It's a very, very valuable tool, and more people are starting to use that, from higher level execs to just people that are stat junkies. It's a really, really cool thing. So I didn't really want this to be a commercial or anything like that. I just kind of wanted this to be a public declaration so that everybody out there could keep me accountable in what it is that I'd like to do here. So check it out for yourself. It's onlinebizcoach.com.
I wish you the best of luck, man. And yeah, just out of full disclosure, no money was transferred in the process of you saying this is just a new project, and I gave you an opportunity to tell the world something new you're working on. So that's all that really was. I mean, there's no backdoor things going on anyway. So congratulations, and hope for the best for you. But now you got to give us our plugins, man. People are waiting for their plugins.
All right, here we go. Plugin number 1, Custom Upload Folders Plus, which allows you to organize all of your file uploads within the Media Center, which means if you want to have organize them just by file type, so if you want all of your PNG files or all of your MP3 files to be in one folder, now you have that capability. It's cool because you can even separate this by logged in users. So if you were on my site and you had Jeff Rowe as your username, I could look and see all the media that you put in there, which is really nice.
Yeah.
It's called Custom Upload Folders Plus.
Probably come in real handy if you're using multi-site networks.
Yeah, definitely. And even just if I want to, if I know that I've got some MP3 files and I don't want to scour through 50 million lists of pictures and all the rest of the stuff that I've uploaded. So it's really handy. I tried it this morning and it was really nice, really nice. So I'm going to keep this on a couple of my sites at least.
Yeah, it would be nice. I don't think by default you can actually sort the WordPress media library by file type. That would be a little nice feature.
Well, now you've got it. Next one is called Scratchpad, and it's nice. Scratchpad is kind of like a little notepad that you can use to just paste some things into as you're working. And what's really cool about this is it works when you're in the distraction-free mode. You have this nice little notepad on the side, so perhaps you have an outline for the post or a list of links or something like that. Oftentimes I'm putting just plug-in links onto actual Windows Notepad and then copying and pasting in between. And this is a really handy feature which you can, when you save the post, even in draft mode, that stuff is still there. So if you wanted to move to a different platform or different computer or something like that, or just leave notes for somebody else on what they need to include within the post, it's a really cool plugin for that. It's called Scratchpad. And finally, we've got Gravity Buttons. Now, I'm often using different buttons and button creators. Standout CSS3 button creator is the one that I typically default to, but I think I might switch to this one. It is a creation plugin that kind of goes into the kitchen sink thing where you just click on the button in the editor and it will pop up with this little display and says, hey, what kind of button would you like to make? And it goes through the whole thing, like what style do you want? Do you want it beveled? Do you want it flat? Do you want, what colors do you want? All that kind of thing. And it's really nice, the way that it's styled, the way that it presents it, and the way that the buttons come up. So I found this to be one of the most valuable plugins that I've seen in the last couple weeks from the repository. Totally free and really powerful. So check it out. It's called Gravity Buttons.
Gravity, gravity, gravity.
Yeah, and those are my plug-in picks of the week.
Excellente. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition of WordPress Weekly. Next Wednesday evening, we'll have on Stephen Cronin and Will Herring. And I believe Will is one of the directors of growth for Envato, and Stephen heads up the ThemeForest category, specifically WordPress themes. So that'll be a great show. Marcus, do not make your first question, how come there's all this crap on there? So hold on to your.
No, I'm a fan
brevity.
of ThemeForest. I'm a big fan of ThemeForest and what they do over there at Envato. So I'm very much looking forward to the show as well. That's one of the coolest parts of being in this show, is that we get so many nice guests that I not only like to take to task, but I also envy what they do and really value the products that they create.
So we have that to look forward to. This weekend I will be at WordCamp St. Louis. So if you're in the St. Louis area and you listen to the show and you're heading to WordCamp, stop me and say hi. Just Google my name or go to the About page on WP Tavern, find a picture of me or in my Twitter avatar, see what I look like. I pretty much, except for me, I have a little bit longer hair than the picture, but pretty much the same. And if you listen to the show, you'll recognize my voice. Trust me, I've stopped people dead in their tracks when they say, "Oh, that's Jeffro." So definitely stop and say hi. I would love to talk to you about the show, WordPress, whatever. Let's just talk. And that's about it. And I'll be back on Monday. We'll talk about the event next Wednesday night before probably after we interview our guests. But that's what the plan right now is for WordPress Weekly. So you can find show notes for this episode on wptavern.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jeffro. That's JEFFR0. Marcus, how about yourself?
You can find me at my website, marcuscouch.com, also onlinebizcoach.com, and on Twitter at marcuscouch.
Excellent. So until next Wednesday evening, everybody have a great and safe rest of the week and enjoy your weekend. I know I will. Bye-bye.